Buddy, we have decided this bike is not for us. And we want to share with you 5 reasons you should not buy the KTM 390 Adventure R. First and foremost is the weight. Like we've mentioned in previous videos, to me this bike feels top heavy. You really feel the weight moving side to side in slow technical terrain. We did a weigh-in in the previous video. What were those weights? Wet?
Yep, 396 pounds total wet weight. And we also did something interesting of leaning the bike over with a scale and weighed how much it took to pick up off the ground. Kind of a tip over weight.
Yes.
And for this bike, it came out to be 183 pounds tip over weight that you have to pick up if this thing ends up on the ground.
Yes, and I want to share that with you because that was probably the rudest awakening I had. I shared in an earlier video. I was up in the high country, big boulders, rock garden, hit a boulder, fell on my side into a fir tree. I should have taken a picture. I could not get this thing lifted up. I could not get into the branches of the tree. I couldn't yank from this side. It took me forever to finally get it up. And I couldn't believe how heavy it was, especially when I was tired. And that's when I talked to Buddy you and said, let's do a weight. How heavy is this thing? So I think that's probably first and foremost and one of the reasons why I'm not liking this motorcycle.
Yeah. Reason number 2 that you should not get the KTM 390 Adventure R is the power, or lack thereof.
Yes.
It's a single cylinder engine. It's not claimed to have a whole bunch of power. It's claimed to have 44 horsepower, which is a decent amount for a light adventure bike, but it lacks a lot of low end power compared to other single cylinder bikes we've ridden across manufacturers.
Exactly, and you've mentioned before, Buddy, the power is all up high, like at 8,000 and 9,000 RPMs. It's really a road bike, street bike motor, and it has no low-end torque.
Yeah, like absolutely nothing. It's not that you just have to rev it a little bit to gain power out of it. You have to go all the way in the top end of the RPM range to start getting power out of this bike, which for street riding might not be that big of a deal. But when you're riding off-road, you want a little bit of torque at least to get yourself up over some obstacles or maybe lift that front end up.
I agree totally with you, Buddy, because when you give it gas, there is a hesitation and there is just nothing there to lift over puddles, obstacles, or anything else. And off-road, and I think this bike is really designed for more off-road, you need that, you really do. So lack of low-end power is really crucial on a reason why we're getting rid of this bike.
Yeah, I think it can create a challenge of having to shift a lot more and really being in tune with where you're at in the RPM range before you attempt to go up an obstacle, instead of giving you a little bit of margin with more torque available to be able to make it up something. It's just got to be just right, otherwise you're not going to have the power to make it up.
Or you're going to stall it and you're going to have to ride that clutch. You really are. Reason number 3, suspension. This bike, especially the rear, has very, very poor suspension. One of the first rides I went on, I was sitting down, went over a hump, came back down, bottomed out so quickly and harshly that it sent a jolt up my spine. And I was not going that fast. And I was like, oh my, I had to slow down the rest of the day, especially if I was sitting down, because I did not want this thing to bottom out and jolt up my spine. And it's really lacking for a bike that's really supposed to be geared towards off-road. The suspension really hampers its off-road performance.
Yeah, in my opinion, if you want to ride it even just a touch more aggressively than sitting down, you're going to bottom out the rear shock no matter what. You can bottom it out at will off of any little bump or a little G out, or if you try to jump. There's also a lack of adjustability with it. There's only preload adjustment on the spring, which we adjusted all the way compressed as stiff as it could go. And then there's rebound adjustment, but no compression clickers. So there's no way to stiffen that up to suit my needs as a rider.
Yeah, mine either, without spending a bunch of money on a new rear suspension.
Yep. The front fork is okay.
Okay.
I don't have too many complaints about the front fork because it gives me that adjustability of compression and rebound. So I was able to make it fit my needs.
Correct.
But it is undersprung and way too soft in the rear.
Reason number 4, reliability or lack thereof. We've had a couple issues with this already, and same issues that's been posted on the internet. One issue almost left us stranded is we lost complete power coming down a mountain pass. A friend and I, bike would not start. Luckily, I had read not just to check the connections on your battery cable, but tighten them up. Took the seat off, checked them, they did not move. But then I pushed hard and got the negative, the ground to move, and everything lit up. So, small issue. The next thing is...
Hold on a second there. I had that same issue a few days after he had that scenario that he just told you about. I didn't know about this issue. I didn't know that he had this issue a few days prior, and I was riding it around the neighborhood. And just with my family, or cruising around the neighborhood, riding the bike, and I stopped. It died, the screen went black, reset the key, took it out, waited 5 minutes, put it back in, screen was black. I had no idea what was going on. And I ended up pushing it back a quarter mile to my house because I couldn't get it started.
Yeah, exactly. And that worries me. Another thing we had happen, same thing I read on the internet, bolts holding the kickstand, the shifter, and the foot peg are all held on by 2 bolts. They were loose. Kim and I were up in the mountains, and all of a sudden I was like, this thing's about ready to fall off. If we would have lost one of those bolts, we would not be able to ride this thing out. The kickstand, the shifter, and the foot peg would have just been all in one piece, would have been dangling.
Yep.
Those 2 were loose, and one of the 2 bolts over here were loose as well. And that scares me. What else isn't torqued? What else is going to leave you stranded? So there's really some concerns with that.
Yeah, for sure. All right, reason number 5, the cost to get this bike to adequate performance. When we first picked up this bike, it was even more lacking than what we're talking about right now. We immediately felt the lack of power and started looking into options on, well, how can we help it out? So we did a few things. One was the Kuber cat delete pipe and a Kuber ECU tune. So that did help.
Yeah, it helps some, especially mid and top end power.
It did help. But the bummer is the immediate thing we said when we got this was, well, how can we make it perform a little better? Because we were disappointed in it. So that was one thing. The other thing that happened is on one of the rides, these rear foot pegs will fall out and go down position on their own at any little bump. There needs to be a retainer of some sort. And so they were down, and when it was tipped over, it sheared the foot peg right off. So
this side over here.
Yeah, so we got some new foot pegs to go on it because the foot peg can't stay up, so it got sheared off.
So when I looked at this as well, I said, I'm done putting good money after more good money into this bike. And obviously we put on some really good tires, front and rear. Did the cat delete, the Kuber ECU tune, which helped more mid and top, not the bottom. Had to go into the suspension, the rear shock, still lacked the low end power, and I just decided we're done. We're done putting money into this bike. It's better off to cut our losses and move on.
Yeah, I think it's a better fit for maybe somebody else looking in for an entry-level bike. Reliability is still a concern no matter what, but I don't think the advertising of this off-road capability of this bike and how well it can perform and all this, I don't think it meets that that perspective it's gained by several other reviewers.
Even from KTM, this bike can't handle that type of riding without the suspension bottoming, lack of low-end power, reliability, and so forth. So there you have it. 5 reasons you should not buy this KTM 390 Adventure R.